and I know, and I heard you mention your granddad. What is your, and he was a farmer, what was your favorite memory of your grandfather?
Yeah, and be clear, he farmed. He did everything. I'm not putting him in the class of all these guys. Yeah, he did whatever he could. But my favorite memory of him is a memory I was told, and it's because it really encapsulates everything that I felt when I was around him. When I was around my granddad, I felt like I was a superhero, even though he was my superhero. And what I mean is this. So, what they talk about all the time, like a lot of family. I ran into this lady too. She was 95 years old. I ran into her having lunch one day in San Diego, and she ran Mitchell's General Store.
Oh wow!
And so she said, "Son, can you come over here?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "You don't remember me, do you?" I said, "No, ma'am, not at all." And she said, "Your grandfather used to bring you into our store." I'm like, "Oh my God, you're Mitchell's." I used to buy comic books there, and so like I started reading very, very early.
Favorite comic book?
Batman.
Okay.
And,
He said that quick too.
yeah,
You
man.
knew it.
Yeah,
You knew it.
not even
All right.
close. Yeah. And so my mother was the second oldest. So like all the girls were still home. Yeah, my grandmother and grandfather were only 40 and 41 when I was born. So I had everybody there. So I learned to read quickly. And the reason that is relevant to this story is so he used to take me because I love comic books. You know, 'cause I'm a kid, and so he would take me to Mitchell's, and she said they used to have this kind of a running joke. And so, Mr. Mitchell would be there, and my grandfather would be like, I bet you my grandson can read that whole cover. Mr. said, there's no way that kid can read that cover. And he's like, yes, you can. If I do it, you're going to give me that comic book. And he's just like, let's see what he does. And so, of course, I'd read the cover, and, of course, my grandfather still had to pay it, but, I'd get the comic. All I knew was I was getting the comic book.
Right.
But he cared about my education so much. He had to quit in 4th grade to take care of his family. His father had left, and so he was taking care of him, his mother, and 6 kids. And I mean, I didn't realize it was 4th grade he had quit. And he worked at the brickyard for 50 years. And at the same time was the neighborhood mechanic, a neighborhood farmer, and he gave his youngest brother the seed money to start his trucking business.
Oh wow!
And had 6 kids. He had 5 of his own, 1 that he raised, and he gave all of them an opportunity to go to college. And only one, the 6th one, didn't take advantage of it. And he'll tell you that was a mistake. But that's my memory of him, is that all he did was encourage. Never a crossword. Always, I don't care what I was doing. He'd make me feel good about it. And he just, I'm telling you, when he passed the year my son was born. My wife was pregnant. Was 8 months pregnant with TJ when my granddad passed, and that was my biggest sadness, is that he never got to see him. But my uncle did, who is now passed, and my uncle was just like my granddad, so it was that was good.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about education. You brought up you were a school teacher. Your family's all into education, and I think one of the nice things about Wolfspeed is the fact that they're working with the school system in Chatham County to get kids involved where you don't necessarily need to go for a 4-year degree. You can go in for 2 years and get you trained, and we'll get you in the workforce, getting paid well. So, in your experiences, how important is education for young folks?
It's something that you can't understand, and I'm glad that you brought up the point about what Wolfspeed is doing. And one, if you don't know Dr. Lisa Chapman and what she means to CCCC, you've got to find out about her, because you're talking about flexible. The minute we get a company, I mean, this hasn't just been Wolfspeed and Benfast, it's been a lot of companies that come in. They're like, we need this curriculum now, bam, it's done. But it's important. I mean, one, I will always believe that education is a great equalizer, not just in the opportunities it gives you, but in your learning how to deal with people, especially with public education. We had one of my Republican friends and I were talking, and education has become a partisan issue. But we were having a real frank conversation about some things. He said, look, man, he's like, best thing that happened to me was having to go to public school. It's like, we didn't have any money. He said, and I got to public school, and I got to be around a lot of people and just be a regular kid. He's like, and a lot of opportunities I got. He said, he said, we grew up in a trade. My parents weren't going to be able to send me to college. Send me to a private school. And so we talked about that. But having an education is something that can never be taken from you. And having the ability to learn is something that can't be taken from you. And a lot of what we miss with education is it's not just about the subject that you're studying, but the fact you're learning how to learn. Like what they told us when I got to law school, they said it's less about you learning the law, but learning how to think like a lawyer.
Well, with these mega sites,
Yeah.
you can have all the tax incentives, you can have the location, you can have all the good demographics, but if you don't have a trainable workforce, and that's what they're always talking, that's what all these big time companies. So I mean, I know some guys that were dealing with some of the land deals in Georgia and Alabama,
Yeah.
and they're like, they gave us the world, but we don't have a trainable workforce. If you don't have people that can learn what to do, what they need, then it's all for naught, right?
That you've got no idea. We've got, I'll just say, areas in the state that would have billion-dollar companies sitting there
Right.
if they had a workforce, which is why I get frustrated about the
I bet
education
so.
argument.
I bet
Again,
so. Right.
because my thing is, this doesn't have to be partisan. It's not about private and charter is better than public or vice versa or anything like that. What it's about is, where am I going to get the most bang for my buck with the state dollars?
And it doesn't have to be a 4-year degree.
Right.
Exactly.
You
Right.
can go right now. You know, God willing, VinFast gets up and running with Wolfspeed. You can go right now, get a 2-year certificate, and come out making $80,000-$90,000 and be at $120,000 before you can blink an eye
Right.
in a 9-to-5 job that you will love and enjoy.
Right.
And you know, kids need to know that. I've got several of my friends, my daughter's friends, it was actually really cool. The kids are top of their class, doing well and all that stuff, that are going to community college right now. And their thing is, I want to see kind of what I can do with that first, and I've always got the option to go to a 4-year if I decide to go to a 4-year.
North Carolina is absolutely amazing. It leads the country as far as that 2-year program. It's incredible.
Man, we used to have, at one point, we had countries coming to see North Carolina's community college system. We were considered one of the best systems in the world. I mean, like people coming from England and stuff like that, and it's because it's flexible,
Right.
and because again, it's not. And sometimes 4-year college, there's so many reasons for 4-year college for a person. And
Right.
sometimes it's as simple as I'm not ready to leave home.
Right.
You know, and I need the support of home. I need, you know, and sometimes it's I've got to work, and I want to be able to work full time and get an education. And one of my daughter's friends said it best. Because somebody was fussing about the cost of school. She's like, my school's free. And so that was it.
Zoe, you need something?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if it's okay if I catch y'all out.
Yeah.
My shift changes
Yeah.
at
Oh, I'm
2:30.
sorry.
No, you are fine. Do you want to do takeout on the same ticket or a different ticket?
I get it. I appreciate it.
All right, so it'll be 107 even.
Well, the other thing about Wolfspeed is I went to one of their presentations and they at a school board meeting, and they mentioned the fact that they will also
No.
pay for kids' education after that 2-year
Yeah,
period
man.
they're working
Thank
for.
you.
Yeah.
Here, see?
No.
And that kind of thing means something, you know, to a child.
She'll come back
I mean, same thing. It's like
Thank
it's
you.
one of the things that used to get some people into the military.
Right.
You know, knowing that they can get education. So I mean, when you find that out, man, it's a great place to work. And I love that they understand that importance. Because, you know, sometimes companies get you and they're like, well, if I got you in this job, I don't care about your personal growth. Wolfspeed's like, look, I can find somebody else for your job if you move up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's good, man. And I
Plus,
love that.
there seems to be more of an emphasis in the workforce these days on getting certified and certifications versus
Yes.
necessarily having to complete a degree.
Well, because you want people that actually know how to do the job.
Right.
And unfortunately, the one thing that I can tell you is that it's rare that you come out of college ready to do a job.
Right.
You come out of college with the education to learn to do a job, but being able to actually work. I mean, I tell people that all the time with paralegals and lawyers.
Right.
You know, people will, you know, obviously you want a law degree so you can practice under there and all that kind of stuff. But I've told them, I've got paralegals working for me that I would put up against any lawyer at any
Right.
time.
Oh, I know.
In fact, the first paralegal my partner hired when he first started, I mean, real estate attorneys used to come to her to find out real estate questions.
Right.
So, you know, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big deal. And I'm glad we've got it.
I was going to say, now that Greg's gone, you can tell us the truth about it. we're not going to do that.
Yeah,
What we are going to do, if you have some more questions, because we're getting close to 40 minutes.
Okay.
Usually we try to keep this to.
Yeah.
I do not edit, but I usually find that if I break it up into 20-minute segments, that's where Eric's mom will watch it.
I understand.
Do you have any other questions?
I think we covered a good bit of it. Well, here we'll give them a political question that they can't answer. Ready?
Okay.
Anybody looking at coming in next to Wolfspeed? See, that's good. He knew that. That's like a real estate agent, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what the folks at the North Carolina Chamber have gotten used to. They have me come speak as leader of the caucus, and so I'm supposed to speak with the statewide perspective. And they'll tell you every time I've gone to speak, I'm just like, you know, I'm proud and we appreciate what you've allowed us to do, and we've got 1,400 acres still paying. I tell you, so yeah.
I like it. I like it. I love how every now and then there'll be a buzz, and then there's always a quiet.
Yeah.
I like it when there's a quiet. Like I know something's going on when it starts getting quiet.
It is. I'm telling you that good things bring other good things.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
telling you, Wolfspeed, I'll tell you, and this has nothing to do with who's coming in. I'm going to be interested to see who decides to come in because they didn't know about it until Disney said they were coming. It is funny nationally. Like when I go, I'm on a national legislative committee, and it is so funny when I go to these national conferences. The first thing they say, "Wait a minute, I know where Chatham County is. That's the place Disney's going."
Right,
and I'm
right.
yes.
So I said that my phone rang off the hook yesterday with Golson and everything, but the most my phone has ever rung is when Disney made their announcement, because I had friends that I went to high school with calling me from California, you know, Florida and everything, and they're like, "Eric, don't you live in Pittsburgh? Why Pittsburgh?" I mean, they were just
Sure, it's a good
dumbfounded.
question.
Yeah.
You know, I had a land broker that was involved in the process that I've done some business with and everything, and maybe you can give some credit to this or not, whatever. But he said it was Colorado and Texas that were in the lead, and they were looking at those really strong and everything. And then they started researching the demographics of who was moving where from the country, and so many people were moving to the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, RTP area, and grandparents want to be around the grandkids. And once they looked at those demographics, they said the fit doesn't get any more perfect than this.
Yeah, and I think what you heard is accurate. And I will say that of all the recruiting I have been involved with, Disney, I found out when everybody else found out. I was like, somebody said Disney's coming.
You could have knocked me over with a feather.
That gets back to what we talked about earlier. I'm telling you, I don't care what anybody says. When you start to get a certain age, you want to be near those kids and those grandkids.
Yes, sir.
And that to me is ultimately my most important job. Is making this place. If your kids or grandkids don't come here, it won't be because they can't. It's because they choose not to for whatever reason. But
I mean, really, can you think of a more exciting district to represent than where you're at
no,
right
it's
now?
not.
I mean,
This
you know,
is-
I'm on a state board, and to see what's going on. I mean, you got your Charlotte, you got your Wake, you got your, you know, there's a lot going on everywhere. But this is one of the most exciting places. To be.
There's nothing that compares to this, and especially if you know people here, if you're from here, it is when you talk to people who have waited basically all their lives to see this happen, and it's happening, man. There's nothing that compares to it. And I don't know if you have to realize Toyota is part of the district.
Yeah. Oh, I
and
did.
so-
I did.
but
Yeah, I saw that.
I always like bringing that up because you know, folks will talk about the investment, and they'll talk about Wolfspeed, and they'll talk about VinFast. I'm like, don't forget Toyota.
Well, I always tell people, you know, when we're representing Chatham County, I include Toyota.
Yeah.
Because that is having an impact on the northwestern
Oh
part.
my gosh.
Then we have Wolfspeed, then I mark off Disney, Chatham Park, and then, you know, I mentioned VinFast, and I also mentioned everything that's going on in Sanford having an impact on the southern part of the county right now.
And how important it was that we kept those relationships. And again, that's one of those things, and I give a lot of credit to John Saul. John Sauls and I were delegate mates for Chatham and Lee County, and that relationship has never stopped.
Sure.
If anything's going on in Sanford, he lets me know. I tell him what's going on up here. And not only does he let me know, but he makes sure that we're involved. And I firmly believe that's why we were able to broker that deal for Sanford to give us water.
Well,
is a relationship.
So one of the things I do as a land broker is I have to figure out what the highest and best use for property is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I went to Morrisville, or I go to Chapel Hill, or I go to Apex and everything, and you get the same old song and dance and everything. I remember the first time I walked into Sanford. Hello, Mr. Andrews. Come on in, Mr. What can we? I mean, it was the most inviting, pro Sanford. Like they wanted to make it happen. I was just blown away. It was there's not a close second. Sanford was just off the chart.
No, I'm telling you, and that was intentional. And that again is, in my opinion, when you watch a group decide, forget the politics, we're going to put the best people in place that give us our best chance to succeed, and they did. And you would, and, you know, and it really mattered. And I'm telling you, it makes me proud. Like this is, if you asked me 40 years ago, and I remember this when I was in law school. I had a friend of mine in law school. His name was Mark. And Mark sat me down our second year. And, you know, everybody was, you know, because when you're in law school, everybody's like, we're going to New York, going to Atlanta, going to Charlotte, all this stuff. And he said, go back home. And I was like, why? He's like, because you want to go back home. And he says, if it's about money, this is going to, and he broke down the money and how it would work out. And he said, this is what he says, when they start off, they're going to be making more money than you because they're going in a big area and all that stuff. He said, it balances out by your 5th year, and by your 5th year, you guys are going to be even. You're probably going to be doing better than them when you talk about per capita. And I've never forgotten that. And of all the people that talked to me, that was kind of the thing that pushed me over the top to say, I'm going back home. And if you had told me this is how it was going to turn out, it could not have turned out better.
That's awesome.
I mean, except I would have won the lottery. You know, I'd be rich and Gene, and I'd be able to kind of chill out. So that's it.
Media mogul.
Yes, exactly. That's it. But nah, it's great, man.
All right, well, folks, we're going to wrap it up. We've had 40 minutes here with Robert, and hope you enjoyed it. And again, 3 guys from Pittsboro minus Greg having lunch over in Siler City.
Yeah.
Robert, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
out.
for having me. This is great, man. I love this.
You're awesome.
Boy, you guys are all right.
He's really got